today? Good. Okay, we have some upcoming generation of wonderful women entrepreneurs in the room, and that's all you give me? Come on, let's put some positive energy in the room. How are you doing today? Great. Yes, that's what I like to hear. Okay, I have to tell you that I'm going to talk really fast through this. I'm going to compress into about 19 minutes what I would normally cover in about 3.5 hours in one of my workshops. So we're going to move pretty quick. But it's really important information that women need to hold on to, and that is not to always believe the myths that we tend to run through our head. And those are the 3 myths that we're going to talk about today. Now, there is a handout for most of you. If you don't, I don't know if I got them to all the tables. I do have a stack right up here in front if more people need some handouts. It is blank by design, because when it comes to the brain, different brains take notes in different ways. So I apologize to the basal lefts in the room who would like to have lines. There are no lines, but you can make your own lines if you would like. And we're just going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about these 3 myths that we tend to believe that can damage your business. Not just your business, ladies, but more importantly, your relationships, and optimally can even do some destructive damage to your health. So let's write those down right off the bat. We're going to start out with the first one being something that you hear yourself say: it would just be easier if I did it myself. Have you ever said that to yourself? Have you ever asked someone in your family to put away the dishes, take out the garbage, or perhaps maybe just put up their own items that they left in the room? And after the 3rd or 4th time you've asked them, you've said to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Because it'd be easier if I do it myself. From a brain energy perspective, ladies, this is not true at all. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not true at all. This is false, and I'm going to explain why in a few minutes. The second myth that oftentimes we run into, or that runs through our head, is if I want it done correctly and best, I'm going to do it myself. Have you ever heard yourself say that? You have this idea running through your head, and you think, you know what? I'm not going to try to explain it to anybody else, because I'm going to know how to do it best and how to do it right, so I'm just going to do it. Well, ladies, we're all gifted, truly, in certain areas of our life. But again, from a brain energy perspective, from that brain personality connection perspective, this is a myth. And I'll explain that one too. The third one's a biggie. And the third one is one that women tend to believe in more so than men. Do you have any idea what it is? How about, I can do it all? I can do everything. We have so many plates up in the air, we don't have arms to balance them. We have so many pots on the stove, we don't even have burners left. And yet something gets handed to us, or something pops up in our business, and we go, oh, you know what, I'll just get up 2 hours earlier tomorrow morning and do it. Or I'll just stay up a few hours later tonight, and I'll get it done. This is the one that can destroy so much of our lives if we're not careful. And I'll explain that in a minute. Now, in order to explain why these are myths, I need to give you a little bit of an anatomy lesson on the brain. So I'm going to draw a brain here. Now I'm going to let you know this is just my brain. It's not necessarily your brain. I'm an abstract artist, by the way. Okay? Little bit on the abstract side. Very much on the abstract side. Don't really know what that looks like. But we're just going to pretend it's a brain. Now, what's interesting about the brain is that it's divided naturally by fissures. There is a fissure that divides the right and left side of the brain, and there are fissures that divide the anterior and the posterior portion of the brain. And by the way, all I'm talking about right now is the cerebrum. I'm not talking about the under portions of the brain. And now what's interesting is that as scientists have been studying the brain with these very technical brain scans, they have found that people have the predisposed ability to spend 1/100th the amount of energy in one of the 4 quadrants of the brain. Just one, ladies, just one. So what happens is it becomes very energy intensive to work outside of that area. Now what I'm going to do really quick is I'm just going to have you flip your page over and draw your page into 4 sections. And I'm going to go through those 4 main quadrants in the brain, and I'm going to talk about just briefly, like I said, you'll have to get more details from me later, what takes place in those portions of the brain. And then we're going to wrap it back around to those myths, okay? So what up here in the frontal left portion of the page, you're going to write the letters F, L, standing for the term frontal left. This is the frontal left portion of the brain. If you were to give the frontal left portion of the brain a label to describe primarily what that portion of the brain is cognitive functions that portion of the brain is responsible for, it would be prioritizing. Ladies and gentlemen, when any of us are doing anything, any fact-based reasoning, inductive, deductive reasoning, fact-based problem solving, decision making, authority delegating, this is the portion of the brain that we're using. This is also the portion of the brain that houses the competition for the most part when we're not talking about introverts and extroverts. This is the portion of the brain that houses the Broca's area of the brain. The Broca's area of the brain is responsible for audible speech. So most frontal left prioritizing brain leads, in other words, these people that spend 1/100th the amount of energy in that area, are generally very articulate in their speech, and they're generally very fact-based in their speech, just simply because it's easy for them because they're spending so much less energy. Okay, now we're going to bounce down, and in the bottom left-hand corner, let's see if I can write this backwards, put a BL. We're talking about the basal left or the back left of the brain. If you were to give one word to describe or to label this portion of the brain, you would put organizing. This is the organizing portion of the brain. So when any of us are doing kind of your fact-based, detailed, sequential filing in our memory banks, we're using the basal left portion of our brain. Basal left individuals are generally very good at spelling. Why? Because all spelling is details in sequence. CAT is filing the word cat in sequence in that portion of the brain. So that's where spelling comes from. So most basal lefts are spellers, good spellers, naturally. This is the area of the brain that tracks time and tracks money. Basal lefts are very, very good, very punctual at time. They are very good at coloring inside of the lines. They like their compartments. They're very compartmentalized, and they do not like change. They resist change. They love following the rules and are very good at it. Okay, now we're going to jump over to the right side of the brain. But before we jump to the right side of the brain, I want you to flip that paper back over, and I want you to write down two words. Limbic system. L-I-M-B-I-C. Limbic system. This is an incredibly important portion of the brain. This is not in the gray matter. This is housed underneath it in the emotion center of the brain. The limbic system is responsible for monitoring and controlling your emotions. And what is very unique about the limbic system, or the right side of the brain, I should say, is that it has many more neural connectors to the right side of the brain. This is the reason why, this is the scientific reason why right-brainers display more emotion in their actions, in their speech, and in the things that they do, because it's scientific. Now, I have to emphasize that as I begin to talk about the right side of the brain, I do not want to at any moment or time imply in any way, shape, or form that one is superior or better than the other, okay? It's just differences within the brain, all right? So down in the bottom left, or bottom right-hand corner, I want you to write, flip your page back over. I want you to write the letters BR for basal or back right. Now, in the basal right portion of the brain, if you were to give it one word to really put in a capsule what takes place here, this is the harmonizing portion of the brain. Whenever we are harmonizing things in our life, people, items, feng shui, decorations in our house, we're using the basal right portion of our brain. When we're harmonizing literally through music, we are using the basal right portion of the brain because the home of music is housed in the basal right portion of the brain. The home of drama is also in the basal right portion of the brain. So a lot of our really good actors, actresses are generally basal right brain leads. So individuals that spend this 1/100th the amount of energy to process a thought in this portion of the brain, this quadrant of the brain, they're naturally gifted in music and drama. These are the great caretakers in society. These are the ones that always want everybody to be happy. This is where your spiritual connections are made. And I'm not just talking about spiritual connections to a higher power, but spiritual connections to nature and to individuals take place in the basal right portion of the brain. Okay, now we're going to jump up to the front portion on the right side, and up in the corner right, frontal right, FR. I had to think there for a minute. Had to go to the basal left and pull out those labels. Okay, so frontal right. Now the frontal rights is if you were to put one label on that brain lead, it would be that it is the visionary brain lead. This is where vision takes place in your brain. Not to be confused with the quadrants in your brain that process the information that come in through your eyes. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the three-dimensional visual ability in our brain takes place in the frontal right portion. So when you are daydreaming, you're imagining, you're visualizing things as they can be, you are using your frontal right portion of your brain. A lot of entrepreneurs, how many ladies in the room have had probably at least once a month, if not once a week, wake up with a brand new business, book, or product idea? Yeah, there's a few of you sitting here. How many of you have managed to go through all those little detailed steps to make them come to fruition? A few of you. Oftentimes your frontal rights are your true entrepreneurs with all of these new visions and ideas. They're the inventors. Leonardo da Vinci was more than likely a frontal right brain lead. So that's kind of what goes on in the frontal right portion of the brain. So individuals that use this 1/100th the amount of energy to work here are naturally gifted in these areas. It comes out in their personality. These are the big vision people. They see the big picture, not the details. Okay, now another interesting anatomy fact about the brain is something called the corpus callosum, which sits underneath the gray matter. Neural connectors in the corpus callosum run right to left, top to bottom. They do not run diagonally. So the most difficult place for someone who is gifted in the frontal left portion of the brain to work is down here in the basal right portion of the brain. So now we're going to wrap it around to those myths. Let's say I'm a frontal left. Very factual, very logical. And I have customers, clients, that need some emotional caretaking, okay? Or maybe I have people that are working with me or that are working under me, and they need some emotional morale boosting. Is it going to be easy for me to do that? No, it's not, because I'm going to have to spend a ton of energy to come here and then go here, or come here and then go here, to get down here and function down there. It is not going to be easy. See how that just gets rid of that first myth? It's not easy. If I'm a basal left and I have gone through, I'm stuck. I'm at a stalemate in my business. And I don't know what next step to take. And I've gone through all the logical, sequential, problem-solving steps I need to take. And I'm still stuck. I still don't get it. What am I going to do? I need some creative, out-of-the-box thinking over here in the frontal right. It's the most difficult part of my brain to work in. Is it going to be easy for me? Literally, in terms of energy burned, I am going to be spending over 100 times more energy second for second than if I was sitting down here in my home. So it's not easy for me. If it's not easy for me, am I going to be the best at it? If I really want it done correctly and I really want it done the best way possible, am I the person to choose to do it? More than likely not, right? I can learn to work there, but it's not where I want to live. Now, if you're a basal right, and you have some holes in your financial pocket, you've been saying yes, and you've been saying yes, and you've been saying yes again. And you're losing money, and you need to make some fact-based decisions, and you need to cut some emotional ties, because that's what's going to be best for your business. Is it going to be something easy for me to do if I'm a basal right? Not at all. I'm going to spend a lot of extra energy to go up there. Am I going to be the best person for that job or that project? No. Because it's just not my gift. It's not where my home is. If I'm a frontal right, and I've got this awesome kick-butt business idea, and where is the devil, ladies? The devil is in the detail. Where's the detail portion of the brain? Diagonally opposite. The most difficult area of me to work in. am I the best person to worry about those details if I'm a frontal right? No. Is it going to be easy for me? No. So you see how understanding, are you getting the picture here? Do you see how understanding energy expenditure in the brain, something that seems very scientific and kind of boring, actually has some really awesome application to our day-to-day life? Now, ladies, I'm going to go back. I want you to flip in order to address this third myth that I want to blow out of the water. I want you to go back to those words I told you to write on the other side of the page, limbic system. And under that, I want you to write that it controls and monitors our emotions, right? I mentioned that before, because the right side of the brain has more neural connectors to it than the left. But something else that is very interesting about that portion of the brain is it also controls and monitors our immune system. So I don't have time to give you all the facts here. I can bring it out in my workshops, and I can speak to you in the back about it. But there has been study after study after study that shows an undeniable connection between the immune system and your emotions. So if I'm trying to be the best at everything, if I'm trying to do it all, and I'm running around my brain like a hamster on an exercise wheel, I'm spending a whole lot of brain energy that I don't need to be spending. Am I going to be a happy person? No. Is my overall emotional tone going to be such that I am just going to be building my immune system every day of my life? No. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing just the opposite. I'm going to be tearing down my immune system because my emotional tone is going like this, and my immune system is going to go right hand in hand with it. You see how that all works? So that third myth, ladies, is the most important one to understand that we cannot buy into. We have to get this through our heads. Now you may say, wow, this is kind of depressing. It's interesting, but it's kind of depressing. Now what do I do? Guess what? Look around the room. You are in absolutely the perfect place to understand this information, because I guarantee that you have all the brain leads represented in this room, and even if all the brain leads are not represented here, they know somebody who is the diagonally opposite side of the brain that you can partner with, that you can become a strategic business person with, that you can trade with, that you can hire, that you can do services to support each other, that will help your business go to the next level. And ultimately, will do good for not just your business, but also your relationships, and more importantly, your health. So, I managed to squeeze that down. Any questions really quick? Yes?
Can you be a front right and a basal left person?
Can you be a front right and basal left person?
Diagonally
opposite. In terms of honest energy expenditure, no. Here's what happens, and you have to attend a workshop to get the answer to this question fully. Basically, what happens is we develop adaptions. Because of necessity, because of life things that go on, we develop the ability to really use the diagonally opposite portion of our brain. But in terms of energy expenditure, second for second, we are brain exhausted. Brain exhausted.
So can you only do one of those?
When it comes to actually the lowest amount of the 1/100th amount of energy expenditure, according to current scientific research, yes, you can have a good second support. However, I'm saying according to scientific research because I don't have every single person in this room attached to a PET scan machine to scan, to say that definitively.
But it would likely not be the diagonal.
It definitely is not going to be the diagonal one. Definitely not. But you can get confused about it because we learn through life and life requirements to use what we need to use. Yes?
Is there any relationship between handedness and side of brain?
No, there's no relationship to handedness and brain lead. No relationship at all that we found. Oh, another one?
Well, I was going to say, if I'm not hogging time here, I attended her workshop and it was fabulous. And for the first time in my life, you explained being late to me.
Being late.
And not that there's any excuse